3.4 Using the quadratic formula. Essential question: can I use the quadratic formula to solve a quadratic equation? Let's first start by developing the quadratic formula. You start with the standard form for a quadratic equation, so that's given. Second step is we're going to move the c to the other side, which is going to require subtraction. Our next step is to divide every term by a, so we can get x squared by itself. So this is going to require division. Now we're going to take these two terms and we're going to take half of it and then square it. This is called completing the square. And if you add this to the left side, you must add the same thing to the right side. So we will be completing the square, and we are going to do some addition. At this step, we are going to simplify. We're going to take this and we're going to multiply it out and get a common denominator. So this step is simplify. Our next step will be simplify as well. We're going to take this trinomial and make it a binomial squared. And while we're at it, we're going to simplify this and make it into one fraction. All right, now to get rid of the square, we're going to take the square root of both sides. And then we're going to move this to the other side, which is going to require subtraction. At this time, we're going to simplify by making sure that it's all under the same denominator. And this is also a simplify step. On this next screen, see if you can give me the reasons. Stop the screencast. Okay, so this is the quadratic formula, and it's good to find roots that are probably irrational, and this is what the calculator gives us, but we've rounded as well. Let me go ahead and demonstrate using the quadratic formula. You must first bring all terms to one side, so this will be x squared plus 3x minus 5 is equal to 0. Now identify your a, which is the coefficient of the x squared term, our b, which is the coefficient of the x term, and our c is our constant. So then x will be equal to the opposite of b, plus or minus, and I'm going to just do b squared in my head, minus 4, and then I'm just going to do my a and c in my head, which is negative 5, all over 2a. Now x will be negative 3 plus or minus, and this will be root 29 over 2. Now these are our two answers. One answer is going to look like this, and the other answer will be looking like this. And to get the decimal versions, you're going to put that in your calculator. All right, I'm going to do number 2, and then you will be doing 1 and 3. So to do number 2, I'm going to take everything to one side. I'm going to identify my A, my B, and my C. Now I'm going to use a quadratic formula, opposite of b, plus or minus square root, b squared is 49, minus 4ac. And I'm just going to multiply the number 4, a, and then c. So that's going to be a 32, all over 2a, which is 4. So x will be equal to minus 7 plus or minus square root of 17, all over 4. And again, I can write both answers, and I can go to my calculator and write them. Stop the screencast so you can try number 1 and number 3. And here are the answers. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the discriminant. And the discriminant is this portion of the quadratic formula right here. Now, if this portion right in here is a positive number, then we are going to get two roots, because we're going to have adding and subtracting this number. So as long as this is greater than 0, a positive number, we are going to get two roots. Now what happens if this part right here ends up being equal to 0? If it's end up being equal to 0, you're going to add or subtract 0, which is only going to give you one solution, which is this. So you're just going to get one solution. Now if this part right in here, the discriminant, ends up being a negative number, we can't take the square root of a negative number. And In Algebra 2, you'll learn that these are imaginary solutions, and that's because the graph did not hit the x-axis. So the discriminant plays an important part in predicting how many solutions we're going to get. All right, let's take a look at this. I am going to do this first part right here, and I'm going to try to figure out the discriminant number and the type of solutions. So I know that my A is equal to 1, my B is equal to -6, and my C is equal to 10. The discriminant is the part under the square root. And so this is going to be 36 minus 4, and A and C is 10. So this is going to be 36 minus 40, which is going to be -4. Being -4 means that I have no solutions. It's one of those situations in which the parabola doesn't hit the x-axis. Stop the screencast and see if you can do B and C. And here are the answers. All right, one more time. Go ahead and stop the screencast and see if you can predict the number of solutions. And here are the answers. So let's go ahead and summarize what we've been doing. We've been solving quadratic equations, and one of the ways we've been using is graphing. Another way is using square roots. Using factoring, we did not complete the square, but we did it to get the quadratic formula, and our fourth way is the quadratic formula. Let's take a look at an application. This is a projectile, and it models a parabola formula. Now in this formula, v sub naught is what we call the initial speed, and s sub naught is what we call the initial height. If we know the initial speed and the initial height, we can predict the path of whatever object is being thrown up in the air. All right, here's a question. A juggler tosses a ball into the air. The ball leaves the juggler's hand 4 feet above the ground. So this is going to be 4 feet, and has an initial velocity of 30 feet per second. The juggler catches the ball when it falls back at a height of 3. So this number will be 3 when it catches it. And the question is, how long is the ball in the air? So we want to find t. We want to find what t can be. T will have 2 answers, and we're going to try to find one of them here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and write the numbers. So this is going to be 3 equals -16t squared plus 30t plus 4. I'm going to take everything to one side. And this will be plus 1. Okay, so now I'm going to use a quadratic formula to help me solve. -30 plus or minus square root of 30 squared minus 4ac all divided by 2 times -16. I'm going to use my calculator to help me find the answer. Now the two solutions I get is, I shouldn't be writing x because my variable is actually t. So time will be equal to -0.03 and 1.91. All right, so these are the times that we get for the solution. And our answer will be the positive one, because time can't be negative in our problem. And so we get a solution of 1.91 seconds in the air. Okay, your turn. This time there's a change, and the initial velocity will be 40 feet. We still have the juggler juggling it at 4 feet, and we still want to figure out when the height, how long it'll be when he catches it at 3. So this is our 40 now, and you want to find t. stop the screencast and see what you can do. And here is the answer.